few weeks ago, I was having lunch with a good friend of mine, but I could tell that he was really kind of, his hair was on fire. Everything was just going awry. He was actually a little bit late to the lunch. Anybody ever had that before? And then when he got there, he was just completely frazzled. And I said, whoa, 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 time out. Let's talk about this here for a moment. Hey, you know what? We're going to get back to that and how we kind of manage priorities. But in the meantime, I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. All right, so let's get back to my friend. Really great person. We scheduled to have lunch. I was there on time. Kudos to me. He was a little bit late. Hey, but you know what? He was a good friend. But even when he was there, he was just so consumed with the fires of the day. Everything was just going to raid and so forth. And normally I kind of let it go. But, the inner coach of me, started to come out. I said, let's talk about this here for a moment. Why are you so stressed? And he said, well, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this. He listed off like 20 times. I was getting stressed from listening to him. Honestly, they did kind of seem rather important, or at least there seemed to be some urgency towards it. But this was my recommendation. Why don't we just pull out a sheet of paper? And thankfully, I had my notebook with me. Yeah, I just had my notebook with me, and I just said, "Let's just try something here real quick." You're already in a rush, so a few more minutes isn't going to make any difference at this point in time, anyway. Let's just write down all the things that you need to do. That's fine. We'll just kind of write them all down, you know, and let's just prioritize it. Now, let's not make this overly complicated. We can just use A, B, C, A being high priority, C being not that much, B somewhere in between. We can use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, awesome. We can use the Eisenhower matrix, what's important, urgent, whatever kind of works for you. In this case, honestly, we just use A, B, C. A were kind of represented the things that had to be done or bad things would happen. So it's quite urgent. Boom, boom, boom. B's were it needs to be done. It really does need to happen, but maybe we have some time before it actually before it comes into play or becomes a big issue. So we'll just call those B's. And C's, those are really not that important things, and honestly, they can wait another day. Now sometimes if you don't address it, it will become important. Okay, but here and now, let's just label those as C. And we took his list and just kind of went through A, B, C. And then, hey, go back and do the A's first, do the B's second, worry about the C's later. Now, that's something that you would do in the heat of the moment, meaning like right then and there. And sometimes that does cause stress on people when they feel overwhelmed with things to do. And that's just a quick band aid over the problem. There is actually a deeper solution. I'm not going to go in full depth because this is meant to be rather short episodes. But really, what you should do is honestly, at the beginning of the year or appropriate time period, kind of figure out what your goals and objectives are, what it is that you're all about. And then that kind of sort of becomes your filter for making decisions. If something comes up, you just go through your filter. This was your original goals and objectives. Is it a part of your goals and objectives? If it is, awesome, do it. If it's not, why are you worried about it? Okay. Now, sometimes you may come up with some things that you really do need to be concerned about, even though they weren't a part of your goals. But that's kind of a different topic on them. Now, the things that do actually match your goals and objectives, and you actually have specific activities around those, sometimes we like to call those minimum viable products, minimum viable, most valued priorities. There's a lot of different words for it. In our small but mighty team, we kind of call it focus areas. Okay, but regardless, it all kind of comes back to the same point in time, which is what are the 2 or 3 focus areas? What are the 2 or 3 biggest priorities that you need to accomplish for this specific time period, for this quarter, for this month, for this week, for this day, for this hour? And just build up your list that way. And then schedule it to the extent possible. Now, sometimes I've been accused of, John, you're way over schedule. And honestly, the way I look at it is it actually gives me freedom because now I know that there's a place for everything. And I know that eventually I'll get to it because, why? It's on the calendar. And it actually frees up more time for me. The beginning of the week, I can look out and see, hey, these are the things that need to be done. Do I even have all the gear, the equipment, the wherewithals to do it, or do I have to still get ready for it? Sometimes we'll call that definition of ready. Hey, but in either case, one of the keys to kind of like managing your overall life is really setting priorities and establishing those priorities at the beginning and then living true to it. The same thing occurs on organizations. Sometimes organizations have lots of things to do. I know in our small but mighty team, we can generate a lot of things. But really, what are the priorities? And the leader ought to be able to establish those priorities. Now, hopefully, the leader has set the goals and objectives, the vision to which we're heading, and using that as a filter. Is this something that supports that vision, or is it something that's not? And then kind of adjust and move forward from there. All right, well, hopefully this session kind of helped you. If it did, please like, share, subscribe. The buttons are down at the bottom here. It helps us to be back of service back to you. In the meantime, hopefully all of your projects will be awesome, and we will be grateful for that. Thank you, and have an awesome day.